The words avant-garde in French are a literal translation for the advancing part of an army, the frontmost position in a fleet advancing in battle. In the arts, avant-garde is a term used to describe artists or works that are forging ahead, breaking down barriers, being innovative, challenging expectations, or even being without expectation. The avant-garde redefines artistic conventions, explores new tools and techniques, and lets go of the traditional nature of art objects.
My name is Danny Wolfers. I'm known as Legowelt. I am 40 years old, so I've been in the business for quite a long time, since the late 90s, I guess. The music I listened to when I was younger was, basically I didn't really listen to music when I was really young. I started to listen to music when I was maybe like 13 years old, in my early teenage years, when house music started to enter the world, you know. That was basically the first music I loved. Little, of course, I listened to like top 40 music like every kid, but I didn't have the idea to also make music back then. But when house music or techno, whatever you call it, came here, then I thought, oh, that's really cool. Maybe I can make it too, you know, because it's so simple to make just in your house, in your bedroom. That's how it started. I always called it like just West-Coast Electronix or something, like with NYX. That's how some people call it, because it's basically so many different styles together, you know. You cannot really talk about house music or techno music. It's a little bit like more weirder, and like electro music, and like more intelligent stuff from the 90s, and ambient and movie soundtracks. So yeah, I can describe it as just like people call it West Coast Electronix. I started producing like probably when I was like 14 years old with a Commodore Amiga computer. Like many producers at that time started their career with that computer because it was the first cheap method to where people could make electronic music at home in a relatively cheap way. You know, you just needed a software called Octamet or a tracker program, and it had a built-in sampler, so you could just like sample sounds, and that's what I did. And then I liked it so much that I started to buy some synthesizers, you know, and then I got a little studio. And of course, back then it was quite difficult to do this stuff because it was still a bit new, because nobody really did it. It was like almost exciting, like being a pioneer or something. That was the fascinating thing about it, that it was very futuristic almost. And of course there wasn't internet back then, so you had to figure out everything yourself, or you had to go to the library and get a book about electronic music, but they weren't really there, especially if you wanted to make house music or techno or acid music. You know, there were no books about that, because the books that were there were more about like like pop bands, or how to set up a small studio for like more like pop music or something. So it was quite interesting to have no idea what you were gonna do, and just buy a synthesizer and a drum machine and then record it on a cassette tape. But back then everybody did it like that, and that's why I think back then the music was so maybe way weirder than now, because people had no clue what they were doing. And besides that, I also didn't really have a musical background. I played piano and violin when I was little, but I couldn't really remember that because I thought it was stupid, and so I had to figure out everything out myself again, how notes work, or how even rhythm, like that a rhythm is like four, doom, doom, doom. Yeah. I had no clue, so my first track sounded really strange. And then after I guess a year or so, you're getting the hang of it. And you also start meeting people that are also producers or also trying to make music, and then they know stuff you don't know, and then you help each other a little bit. But then, and at that time there were also some magazines you could buy that had some information about how stuff worked. So so that's how the ball started rolling a little bit, and I just kept on trying, and then it took a few years before I had my first record out on Bunker Records from The Hague, and
So how long had you been producing music at that time? That was in 2001, if I'm correct?
Yeah, my first record was, I think, in 1999.
1999.
Yeah, and I did a CD before that too on a small The Hague label, because we already, like me and my friends, would already play parties before we had a record out, like maybe from 1996. We would play like raves or something, or like school parties and stuff like that. And where was I? Yeah, so of course then in the mid-90s I realized that there was a scene in The Hague that made like very weird music that was exactly the stuff I liked, like more influenced by the Detroit and Chicago stuff, because back then in Holland in the 90s you had like basically you had mellow house and gabber house, hardcore. Yeah. And that's what most people thought was house buzz, and if you like dreamy techno or weirder stuff, people thought you were just strange. And then I heard on the radio, because back then the national radio, you had like the VPRO, and every Friday night they would just have some random weird guy that he was allowed to play whatever he wanted or invite everybody, and he would have like Ferenc and Guy of Bunker Records, And then I listened to that on the radio, and it was like, wow, that's so cool that these people come from The Hague, you know. So then, yeah, I started to hang out with them, you know. I just visited them, and they said, oh yeah, I'm making music too, and gave them some demos, and then yeah, later they released it, you know. And then I did a lot of records on Bunker, and then I guess my career really started going when I did a track for, well, it was originally a track I made for an American label called Disco Route, on an American label called Ghostly International. And that track was licensed by Cocoon from Sven Bate, and it became like a big techno or whatever it is, style-wise, a big hit. Yeah. Not top 40, but like it was track of the year, and Sven got close to, what was it, Love Parade with it and stuff. So that's when the ball started rolling, basically. But of course, I didn't have had a clue how big it was actually, because I was very into this The Hague scene, and the The Hague scene is a little bit punky, how do you call it? Do-it-yourself, yeah, punk, raw, and yeah, very not anti everything, but you know, we didn't really give a fuck about anything, so I kind of missed the boat with like jumping on that Sven Bate thing, because I didn't really like we
just kind of went past you, you know.
Yeah, but also the way we handled it, it was funny, because then I was invited to play then a lot of like big festivals in Germany, and I had no clue how that went, because I was used to play like in squads here. And then I would just bring like a couple of guys from the Bunker records with me, and then I shared them the fee we got, and that was very strange for the festival organizers there, because they were more like German Sven Bate, Ibiza style promoters, and we played like very weird music. Or that like one guy would just play old school hip hop at the like techno party, and they didn't really like that, and so it didn't take a long time before they stopped booking us for those kind of parties, and then I just kept on doing my own thing, you know, like making all this weird music, and that went quite good actually, and started to play everywhere in the world with that, and but not as on a what you call high level as on Sven Bate or something, or like sometimes happens with those people. So if I should have done that, I would be a lot richer now, I guess. Yeah. But it's very okay now, and then I just did my thing for all these years, and I made some more records that became famous or whatever, or what was the word, and the past few years it's there's this whole scene is also evolving to something more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, we'll say like the Hague scene is like growing internationally, right? So the sound is starting to get like recognized a lot more internationally as well than, let's say, for example, 10 years ago.
Well, it was always very international from the beginning, because the thing was like IF, let's like Fulex and stuff like that, and it was on the internet very early, like already in 1995 or 1996 he had a internet website, and in that time there weren't that many internet sites, so if you were in the world and into like electro, you came on. So there were lots of fans from all over the world through the internet, especially in America. And so we used to tour a lot in America, but then it would be very like not like how techno artists go with like first class plane tickets. That's now, but back then we would just have like a little van and would tour through the whole of the United States like a rock punk band, you know. And yeah, so but yeah, it's of course because now it's older, the scene, you know, and then it gets more respect. But the feeling of being like a pioneer sounds a bit maybe a little bit big, but of course, like I said in those times, it was very strange to make electronic music. When I went to school and I said, but people, they would laugh at me. You know, they were like, that's so stupid that you make house music, and why? You know, it's fun. And then but yeah, I think I've always been like that, to be a little bit like doing stuff that other people don't want to do.
You think part of what attracted you to it was that other people weren't doing it?
No, I don't think that is not the thing that attracted me to it, that other people were not doing it, because it was just something futuristic or not explored yet or something, and you know, so you kind of jump into a ocean of new music, and then
it was also kind of the bit of the magic of it, you know, because it was kind of sort of uncharted territory, something new, something experimental.
Definitely, yeah. So it was very exciting. That was probably more because when you're a teenager, you always want to be rebellious, of course. You know, every young generation, you know, you did like punk music or rock and roll back then, and then house music was so new and different. It was like, you know, because like old people said, oh, this is computer music, and I mean, probably today still people say it's not music, you know, it's like bleeps and computer drums and stuff. So then I thought, oh, that's cool. It's like it's something rebellious or avant-garde, or you know. And
so was it kind of your way to rebel against the time and the place you were living in? It's like your method of...
Yeah, I guess so. Of course, you also back then there was a whole scene around it, and you also had certain clothes you wear, you know, and with T-shirts of like you know, of the bands, or like a Tree of Tree or on it, and yeah, so it was it was basically a subculture also, you know, and yeah, the more obscure the subculture, the better it is, I thought, and it also aligned with my interest for like because yeah, I was basically a computer nerd, you know, so, or the technology nerd. I was maybe like a cyberpunk back then, and I thought, oh, then that's really cool. You can make music with computers, you know, and yeah, explore all these new things. You know.
Last night I began by reviewing two possible concepts of the nature of space. One, that it is simply an abstraction, and projected upon the physical world in rather the same way that we project measurements, lines of latitude and longitude. Like hours, minutes, and seconds, which are there only on time.
The drive to make music, yeah, it's yes, some people have that in them, you know. They just wanna be creative, you know, be an artist, and yeah, it's and back then, yeah, it was basically my job, like it still is. So it's the only thing I can do, and yeah. People kept asking for more records and making tracks, and yeah.
Yeah, but you're also kind of known for one of the producers that produces one of the most tracks. You keep producing music, and yeah, I know I wanna see if there's something behind there driving you to like every day sit behind your computer and produce another track. Does it give you like some sort of satisfaction, or is it?
Yeah, it definitely gives some satisfaction, and maybe it's also something stranger to just stay sane or something, you know. Yeah, once that ball started rolling, you know, you cannot stop, you know, and so you just have to keep on going, and the ideas keep coming, and yeah, the people keep on buying it, so. It's always a good inspiration to keep on going, that people like it, or yeah, and then it's just fun also to make records or albums and think of weird concepts and play around with the synthesizers, you know, and discover new stuff in music all the time, and yeah, and then so yeah, that's the drive, and to the core essence, the drive is of course survival, you know, to have a living, so you can have a house and food.
He wants us to jam now. I feel like I can make the most amazing melodies now. This stuff.
I agree. Let's go. I hope we can.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jam.
All right, man.
I think the opposite of that technology is a nemesis, because when I started using Ableton, I could do stuff I had in my head, but it was impossible to do with only hardware. So I was very happy. I'm always interested in new technologies, because then I can expand my, my creative music making. So I think it's quite important for an artist to keep on. Depends on what kind of artist. If you're a folk singer, you can just have a guitar. But yeah, if you're an electronic producer, also for yourself, because. I think a bigger nemesis of a musician, electronic producer musician, is that he gets bored with the stuff he does. And when you always use the same sounds, always use the same stuff, and then the music will sound the same all the time. And of course, like some artists can pull it off, like the Egyptian Lover. This famous electro guy, he still sounds exactly like 1984, and even the melodies, but he has no, no interest in doing more advanced stuff, or maybe the most advanced stuff he did was using auto-tune.
Synthesizer is like synthesizers that it synthesizer, yeah, synthesizer, radiation and chemical fumes from these synthesizers.
Still make a lot of use of synthesizers and analog equipment. You could also say like Ableton can replace all of them. So you could be like clearing out your inventory and just have a big screen and a laptop with Ableton and produce music. But why do you still keep using all the analog synthesizers and drum computers to make music? There has to be like something. Is there like something magical about it about it still using like the old equipment?
Yeah, of course, there's something magical about it, and they're like instruments, and also like an instrument itself can influence you, definitely can steer you what you're gonna do, how they look, for example, and how the buttons are, and the sound, of course, you can of course emulate probably everything with Ableton, but for me it's interesting to have a combination with it, so then you can even do more freaky stuff, so and it just makes it more fun to like it's a little side hobby of it's a very important part of course the whole electronic scene are synthesizers,
But you also kind of say that it perhaps adds to your authenticity, like in the way you produce music. That's also something that you can say that you know how to use all the old analog equipment, or
I guess that it comes with a certain prestige or something, so then people think, it's more interesting, it gives a little bit more soul to it, just to have them in the background now also, I guess, but there's also like I know a lot of music that's just made by a guy with a laptop that's really amazing, where people sometimes go, wow, this really sounds analog, and and then he just uses Fruity Loops or something. It doesn't really matter.
But is it also like a very conscious choice of yourself to produce music like you're doing here in your living room? Or, I mean, you could also be producing music in like a high-tech, fancy studio, but is it like a conscious choice that you still do it at home instead of?
Yeah, definitely, because I don't like making music in a studio, because I used to have a professional studio with a big mixing desk, but that was for me very uninspiring. I just like to sit on the couch and hang out there. For me, that works better. You know, it's a more relaxed atmosphere, and it's not so forceful as sitting in a studio. Because you see that a lot, that people have to go to the studio to make music, and then they're just sitting there, and then they make some generic techno track that sounds like every other techno track, and then and that's basically because, of course, I'm a bit weird. I just do this almost all day, you know. Then I don't have to go out to a studio, and I can just wake up and
start producing music.
Yeah, or work on stuff. Yeah, whatever.
And is it in the way you produce music? Do you do everything yourself, like from making the beat till mastering it till bringing it out there, or sending demos, samples to labels, or how much of the production process do you do yourself?
Well, the music is made by myself, of course, and the mastering sometimes is done by another guy. Depends on which label it is released, you know. And sometimes on my own label I do my mastering myself, and then I even copy the cassette tapes on my label. I do that myself. And it's because it's like a very artisan job, which is very different from producing music. If you like cutting the covers and stuff, it's like and then you're working more a little bit with your hands, and it kind of distracts from producing music all the time. But sometimes I have a studio assistant who also lives in The Hague. He's studying music technology in Utrecht. He sometimes helps me out doing more like chore stuff, you know. And so sometimes he helps me mixing down stuff, but I could do that also by myself. But sometimes it's nice to have another listening ear, you know.
I know you also draw a lot of your own album covers yourself, right? So you do a lot of the, like you already said, like the artistic stuff around just making the music, you do yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct, right? So
also the website.
Like also part of the creative process, you know, from beginning to end, that if like the moment you draw your own album cover, that it's even more finished, like makes the creative process
definitely
really rounded.
Yeah, because the thing was I started doing that, releasing more on my own label, which is called Nightwind Records, because a lot of times when you send your music to another label and it's released, you get a really crap cover. Or like the artwork sometimes is horrible, doesn't fit the music, and I thought, that's kind of not like how I envisioned it. So I much rather do it myself, the whole thing, you know. And when I'm making the artwork, like those there or something, a lot of times the music is also being made at the same time, and it's like how do you call it? Visual feedback thing. So then when I draw something, I get a new idea for the music, or like for an idea for a track title, and then make some music, and I put that in the drawing too. So that's usually like a process of a few weeks, and then I'm having a lot of fun, of course, doing that. It makes it also more fun to draw and stuff.
Your music kind of sneaks in everything or something, you know.
So kind of like that. And then I have then they use my sounds, so and it's spread across the world. But that's not the main reason. It's more because I knew from back when I started how useful that is, you know, and there's many reasons that I do that. Also, of course, a little bit of promotion for myself, you know, and so I have some content on my website.
Advances in technology have allowed artists to produce their own music and create home studios. By appropriating a DIY attitude, lines of productions are short and a level of authenticity can therefore be warranted. Authenticity is an important aspect in the creation of art. Hibbett described two ways of preserving the myth of authenticity as the punk lo-fi method, also known as the postmodern approach, and the post-rock method, the modern approach. Within the West-Coast Electronix scene, we see a lo-fi, postmodern approach to the creation of music, choosing the use of synthesizers in a home studio over producing music using only software in a state-of-the-art music studio. Mastering tracks and using personal art for the album covers enables artists to have creative influence right down to the final product.